So today SAP had a community call where they shared something about their newest tool about migration from PIPO to integration suite. And I think this is pretty interesting. This is first time it is being shared outside of a demo or beta forum. So I think it makes sense for me to go through and share my comments on some of these different things. Obviously, we have our own tool that can help in a lot of these ways in the migration aspect. So we are interested in what is going on. So the first thing we talk about is the hybrid deployment and the integration cell. And I think here there's currently a beta going on, and I guess we'll see what this all goes into. But the idea is that you can deploy this locally, but it is not a designer. I think you would need to design everything locally or in the cloud, and then you deploy to the integration cell. I do look forward to see the integration cell. Then we talk more about the assessment and what's going on, and obviously I recommend that you check out the video and go into all the details about all these things. And also SAP's view on this. So now we come to the migration, what is going on, and I think here there's a couple of things that is interesting. Obviously, to do a migration, we need to talk about the assessment, what is going on, who is dealing with these things. Then we have a migration tool, and we will see demos of both of these things. They say here beta general in 23 in January, I think, and that is also one of the comments that we get over here, that it is in January that we will see this as a part of this. And I think they also talked about it. You could use it in the free tier and possibly also the trial tools. And we also talk about the partner regression testing tool that you can get from FIGAF as one of the partners that delivers this. And I think, yeah, we have the integration cell that is currently in evaluation. Then they talk about how this looks, and as I see it here, it is the assessment is a different app in the integration suite that allows you to handle the connectivity, and the other thing is the cloud integration is also a part of the integration suite, or the migration tool is a part of the integration cloud integration. One thing that is obviously a bit interesting here is, what about Neo? My best guess is that this is definitely first delivered to the integration suite. I'm not sure if it will be possible to migrate definitely not the assessment, but maybe they will be hesitant to see if they will release the cloud migration as a part of this and move that also to the Neo environment. Then we talk about the assessment, and I think the processes that you connect to your system create a job to extract data. And I think that makes a lot of sense, because there is a lot of data for some scenarios. You have 110,000 scenarios, and you need all of the data from these to be able to create an assessment. Then you create some evaluation requests and take all of this metadata, process it into report that you can then use for dealing with these things. And they come up with some t-shirt choices that, depending on these different scenarios, how difficult is it to migrate it. I guess the t-shirt size for migration is a bit controversial, and I think we'll get to that, because yeah, what does take long time, and do you need to readopt it, or things like that. Here we can see that they connect to the CPI systems, to the PI systems, and I think at one point in time they also talk about ESR and integration directory are the same. Then to create the request, you first create a data request where you fetch all the data, and I think here that they are just working on the directory, but I'm not sure. Here we can see that you're using the simple query to fit these things. And I think we also ran into a lot of these conflicts when we were reading artifacts, that you have some scenarios that is duplicated. I think we found a way around it, but it was a pretty hill to go through these things. Obviously, the runtime here depends on the size of your landscape connection, etc. Once you've done that, you can then create a new evaluation request where you say, okay, go through this, and once the evaluation request comes up, you can then see an estimation of the migration, where you can see the number of interfaces that you need to evaluate, adopt, and migrate. And for this scenario, there's quite a lot of easy to migrate, and I guess this point out in this a large number of small integrations. What seems to be a bit strange, and obviously not without knowing how these things is calculated, is that you have a larger number of evaluate and adopt than you have for the whatever this is, I guess medium, which makes it a little challenging to understand what is the effort and can we migrate these things. Possibly you can drill down and see more about what these artifacts are. They also have adapters, scenarios, and they come in with some ideas about this scenario. For instance, you have here, this has a template identity and a number of variants that you can go through and fill out regarding these different variants. And I think this is that you can try to migrate these 4 times and see which one makes most sense for you. I don't think that they here share the different scenarios they have, the adapters. There's some pretty good breakdowns here. I guess they go more into the effort of these things. And here you can see some. Oh, that was actually pretty interesting. Come on. Here you can see that there's this different sizing. So you have an interface that needs to be migrated. It is estimated to between 1 to 4 hours. And there's this amount of scenarios. For the adapters, 1 to 6 hours to do this for the small one, and there's 300 scenarios for this. And for the evaluate, there's 4 to 8 hours that is need to be spent on this, and then they calculate the number of days that this migration effort would end up with. Obviously, the migrate is the easy one. The adopt and evaluate is a lot more complicated to get in through, and I guess you would have a lot more greater variance. And maybe this is one of the things that you can customize yourself and figure out what are the different scenarios that you would need here. So yes, some statistics, that's pretty cool. And then you get into the different scenarios, how they can be migrated or adopted based on these things. So pretty cool report, and you can also get it in Excel where you can use it to search for the different scenarios you have. Then they go into the CPI system, cloud integration system, and do a migration. Here we can see that there's a new button here called migrate. And then they can select the system that they want to connect to using the cloud connector, and obviously you need to make sure that it has the cloud connector enabled. And here you can see that it fetches both data, and I guess this could be pretty interesting because then you can connect to the dev integration directory, but use the productive ESR object, because you know that the objects in the ESR production is better, or is at least the more relevant ones. So I think that could be a pretty interesting thing, and we don't have that. When we do our migration, it is just from one system. So you need to select which of the system that makes sense here. And then he had problems with connecting with Cloud Connect, and he needed to enable it or something like that. So once you have selected the PO system, you can then select the interface that you want, and there's a search criteria here. You can create some filters, and then he selects an ICO here to do this. And now he has a list of the different templates that can be used to manage this. And I don't know, there's probably like 20 different templates to handle these different things. And I don't think here they go into details about what these templates are and what you can do with them. In the chat, they mentioned that customers and partners can add their own templates. So you can create your own templates to handle these different things. We go into create a name of this artifact and create it and select migrate. It does not say anything else here about mappings that is being used or migrated. And then he finds it and he can open it. And now we have created an iFlow based on these criteria. Where you get the mappings inserted into and an XSLT. It finds the adapters, and you then obviously need to go through and handle some of these configuration yourself. Well, yeah, I like it. It is pretty easy to use to set up, and then you can then see that based on the scenario we have here, we have 3 or 4 different of these scenarios that could be used to handle this case. Where you can use the different templates. And I think we need to understand a little more about in depth what these templates are, how good they are, and how much you need to adopt them to fit with your own requirements. Obviously, I think we do have some advantages what we can do with our migration tool and streamlining the full process. We also have the migration assessment that give you some more details about what is going on in your landscape and allow you to take the considerations about what is going on with your landscape, like how many scenarios you have, etc. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to see a lot more about how these things pan out, what you can do, how you would be able to adjust the scenarios, etc. I think there's some pretty good comments in here also to check out, and the questions that is being answered here on these topics. So it is interesting to see. I definitely, if you're planning a migration in the next couple of weeks, I would also check out our tool to at least have an understanding of what that can do. At least create the assessment, maybe do the testing of some of these scenarios that you're creating, and then let's see. One thing I did not get an answer on here is function libraries. Because a lot of times in your PI mappings, you do have function libraries. In the old migration tool or import tool where you could import a mapping, these were not supported. And it will be interesting to see if they're supported here or when they will be supported. I think in the roadmap it is in the roadmap, but we need to know when that is going to happen. In our tool, we do have migration of function libraries, and it is not so simple because these 2 artifacts is a little different. So there's obviously room for improvement and a lot of things that you as a developer need to take into consideration. But to check out the real video also, I do recommend going through that and ask the question. There's a place here you can also go and ask questions for your migration. I hope you like this video. If you want more reaction videos, then let me know. Yeah, I think this was a pretty cool session to finally see it in the wild. So being able to report a little on this. And yeah, what do you think of this? Does this solve your need for your migration project? Thank you.